Hi, and welcome to Poets Corner or the Let's Be Happy podcast. And I'm Rosamund Gravel.
I'm Delfina.
And today we have Emma Copland with us.
Hello, nice to be here.
It's
Hello,
lovely.
Emma.
Hi, Emma. It's lovely for you to be here. Emma is a director, and are you able to tell us a little more about yourself?
Yeah, I guess I'm a Scottish theatre director that's working in and around London at the minute. I've been in the industry since I left university, and and I'm coming back to it after having spent some time in education. So I guess I kind of consider myself as a re-emerging director.
Looking at your website, it's really interesting and fascinating, and you put quite a bit of what you're interested in, and I'm really keen to hear more about how your passion for Shakespeare is. Is that a long-standing passion, and where does it go and how does it lead you?
Yeah, it feels almost like a bit of a confession, doesn't it, when you say you like Shakespeare these days? I love it. I love the multiplicity of the language. I love how much meaning he crams into one word, and how, as like a creative or as an audience member, you can take from that one word or that one phrase whatever you like in a sense. And I think that's what makes it so special, is that lots of people can access it in different ways. But equally, because it is so ambiguous at moments, it can feel quite alienating for people. And I think as a creative and as a teacher, I really like breaking down those barriers for people and saying, like, no, he was a performer, he wanted to share his stories, that he wasn't interested in being aloof and enigmatic. He just wanted to make people laugh. And a lot of the time I kind of approach it with the sort of potty humor that is abundant in his place, because that always makes everybody feel quite safe when there's fart jokes and bottom jokes, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And how do you feel that it's more difficult nowadays about Shakespeare? Because I know that we all love our contemporary stuff, and do you feel that I know that we all kind of all struggle to get our art on and be seen and heard. And I know in one sense Shakespeare's never going to go away. But do you feel that you've had another barrier because of this passion, which might not be potentially shared with as many people as before? Or
Yeah, I think it's interesting because there tends to be a lot of purists around with Shakespeare, and sometimes I feel like you can be stuck between the wanting to do the traditional and inverted commas and the text the way it should be performed, and that sort of thing. And I'm not for that. I'm very much for, like, do what you like with it. He's been dead 400 years. He doesn't care. And use it as a tool to get your message across, or use it as a stimulus to respond to. Like, if you don't like what the message is that he's saying, then like write the new play that responds to that, or that takes those words and reframes them, or takes those words and reorders them and attacks them in a different way. Like, it's a robust writing. Like, it's gonna handle a little bit of criticism. And yeah, I think that I just don't think about the reverence as being useful. Um, it's, of course, it's beautiful art and it needs to be respected, but not in a glass box behind. Like, it's a play, it should be live and of the moment and on the stage, where you're feeling and breathing and heart beating at the same time as everybody around you. And like, if that doesn't do it for you, then find the thing that does. So yeah, I love it does it for me, and I like to do that with other people. And so yeah, I think in terms of putting Shakespeare on now, finding ways to stage it, one, cheaply, because they're big casts, and that's expensive to stage, and two, in a way that doesn't scare audiences away. whether that's because it's too contemporary or whether it's because it's too traditional. So it's finding like that nice balance, but not all theatre is for everybody, and we can't pretend that it is or that it should be.
Okay, what kind, when you say education, what kind of education are you meaning?
I was working in secondary school teaching drama for a while.
Yeah, that's amazing. And also on your website says that you are interested in, I mean, I'm bringing this question because I think that we can link it with you were saying about teaching and also about Shakespeare. It says that you are interested in connection and empathy, identity. So my question is this one: when you teach, were you trying to transmit some of these things about empathy and identity, or you were just interested in the Shakespeare texts and that's it?
Can I say both? I think actually that Shakespeare is a great vehicle to explore identity through, um, especially for teenagers because of all the disguises that happen on a really superficial level, but also the discoveries and the interrogation that the characters do about the selves that they present to the world and the selves that they are in private, the way that they speak with their characters that they're familiar with, and versus characters that have status above or below them. So there's lots of things that you can explore with that in terms of identity. And I think it, particularly in theatre, but possibly in other parts of our society as well, we've really dug into identity politics and kind of entrenched ourselves in these like I am who I am type categories. And I think theatre is a place where you can access, as an audience member and as a performer, or as a creative, as can access shared parts of identity without having to put yourself in a particular box. And I think for me, that's where the empathy comes in, that you can see somebody very different to you on stage. You can see their physicality begin to change because they are panicked, because they are scared, and you can feel for them, and you can feel for them in that moment because you can align yourself with those things that make you feel like that way when you're in that position. And if that character is telling you that because it's their part of their identity, then there's ways that you can access that part of your identity as well. And yeah, so I think when I teach that with Shakespeare, for young people, I sort of try and say like identity is like a pick and mix, and you don't have to put yourself into a particular box. You can try things out, you can explore, you can share, and and you can change. It doesn't have to be fixed. And I think Shakespeare is a really nice tool for that.
That's amazing. So would you say that it would be acting or art or theater, and performing would be kind of a inner journey for the person who is performing on stage? Would you say that?
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I think there is an inner journey. Well, I don't know because I'm not brave enough to be a performer. I think it takes a lot of guts to give that because you are giving a part of yourself, right, on that stage. And
Exactly.
so yeah, there is definitely maybe there is an inner journey, but there's definitely a external journey as well that offers a connection with the audience. Come with me on this, me as a performer as well as me as a character.
I think that there is a transformation when you do something related to art, because as you said before, you are really in touch with the emotions. When you are performing a character, or when you are trying to learn, I mean, I've heard a lot of stories of actresses and actors that they can actually learn. They learn a lot from the characters that they are performing. So yeah, I would love to say or to think that art is a really great tool for that personal development. You know what I mean? kind of. And as I said that on your website, it got my attention. It got my attention.
Yeah, totally. I can't see how we as people can go through processes, just like any person, but go through a system, a process and not be impacted by it in some way. Whether that's because we've had external influences or our own internal decisions and choices that have made, like, if you're playing a baddie, you have to empathize with the baddie in order to do the things that the baddie does on stage, right? So, like, how can you not be changed by that process of rehearsal and of attempting empathy on that level? Yeah, and I think that's why I find rehearsal so important and so fascinating, and the sort of process of creation is through the rehearsal, and change creation and change is through the rehearsal, but also keeps going when the performance happens, because then the next level of impact and influences the audience, right? And then, like, how they contribute to that process and how they change the actors in the space and the characters in the space. And yeah, I love all of that. Big fan.
Yeah, I always think or say that when you perform, you complete your play or whatever you are doing with the audience, because it starts with you, but then you have the audience, and that I think the process ends there with the audience,
Mm.
and you can transform yourself, and then uh, you get to transform the audience in a way. So
Yeah.
that's amazing. Yeah.
What attracted you to directing? You sort of said that you couldn't be a performer because that's a different process which you're not comfortable with, but how did that journey for you start?
Yeah. When I was at uni, and we learned that, like, the idea, the concept of a director was quite a new thing, um, in the scheme of theatre. I was not surprised. I was like, yeah, why do you need a director? Sure, like, that's just the lazy person that bosses people around and then, like, organizes props, surely. And then the more and more theatre that I did, I was like, oh, this is quite important. Might be quite helpful to have a person like that, that's an outside eye, that is the first audience member. Um, yeah, I think the thing that really kind of kept me there was having this understanding of the big picture. I'm learning more and more that I'm not a particularly nitty-gritty, detailed person. I like to step back and go, okay, this is how this feels in this moment. This is how this is moving, and how these pieces come together. And then, like, zoom in on one tiny moment, and how can you make that moment have the big impact that you need it to have for the big picture. And that, like, telescopic thing, um, yeah, action is something that I really love doing. I can't spend too much time in the detail, um, but I like doing that, the jump in and jump out. So yeah, that's the bit that I really enjoy, and I enjoy doing the, in a sort of bigger picture sense, the research and the foundation that happens beforehand, so that you can go into that rehearsal room with a real joy and color and colorful and textured world in your head that then you can invite the rest of the company into. Be like, come and see this place that I want you to help build with me, and like, it's really exciting. Please come and bring your ideas and your skills into this. So yeah, like, that's what I love about it, I guess.
Yeah. um, you couldn't do it on your own. I mean, you can, but it is completely different. There is this team, and everyone is carry on a task and a role. So it's amazing. Is there any project that you are running these days related to art or not?
Yeah, I'm actually really excited in a minute, because I've got a few different pots on the hob, don't we all? Don't we all the time, kicking things along? But the one that I'm deep into at the minute is a performance, or a production that I'm developing with my partner called Deaf as a Post, and it's a play. It's a play. It's set in a sort of dystopian world, not too far from now, you know, like that type of vibe. And it's about hearing or hearing loss and hearing differences. And so I'm really excited because I get to explore how to work with people that have different hearing abilities and differences, and how we communicate with audiences who are deaf or have hearing impairments, and how you can use the semiotics of the stage to communicate sound in a visual way or in a textual way or in with texture or with movement, and that's really like thrilling at the minute to explore that and to speak with creatives that I haven't worked with before. And yeah, so that's kind of where I am at the minute. And then I've also got a Shakespeare project that I'm working on, two Shakespeare projects actually that I'm working on as well at the minute. But they are quite early doors at the moment. So yeah.
And the Deaf as a Post, where's that? Is it on? Can some of the audience who are listening buy tickets, or?
Absolutely, you can buy tickets. It's on at Barons Court Theatre in West London from the 9th to the 20th of April, and you can get your tickets now on the Barons Court website. Check us out. And actually, Sean's been doing my partner Sean Blaney, who also wrote it, has been doing some video bits and pieces for us today. So there should be some little sneaky bits of promo you can catch on the socials. You can follow us at Dandelion Productions _.
Fantastic. So we'll definitely make sure to check that out. And so I was also looking at your portfolio. So I've also seen that you also write yourself. You've done, I think it was Cooking with Carrie, is that right?
Yeah, Cooking with Carrie was my first proper foray into, it was my first full-length play. Yeah, Cooking with Carrie is a lovely piece. She's still in development. I did a rehearsed reading with it last year, and there's work to be done. But you know, like you were saying, Delphina, like the process is never finished, right? You're always like that feedback loop and developing and learning and moving and changing. So yeah, that's Cooking with Carrie is a play about a sudden death in a friendship and how we cope with that when we lose what feels like our other self in a really close friendship. And yeah, it's loosely based on a personal experience and loosely based on, well, personal experiences of friends and family as well, and how we kind of manage grief, and also that thing of being competitive with your girlfriends, and like that kind of social pressures to hit milestones at particular moments in time in your life, and how if we're not lining up with the expectation, how does that make us feel, or how do we manage that? And these two characters, one was very much hitting traditional milestones and the other was very much not, and it wasn't the sort of competition between them was, is there a right way or a wrong way to do it, and how do they support each other in those choices? And they were very much choices from both of those characters to do those things. So yeah, it's still cooking. But yeah, it was my first foray, and it was a really lovely piece to sort of explore writing through, because it came from a personal place, and I think it was nice to be able to feel brave enough to commit some of those ideas and feelings to paper. Yeah, and hopefully that it will develop a bit more into something a bit more theatrical at some point.
When you say that it's coming from a personal space, what do you mean by that? If you want to say so, if not, you can. I mean, if you want to answer.
Yeah, no, I don't mind. Well, it's in the play now. During lockdown, I lost a friend of mine who I shared a flat with a few years prior, and it was quite a quick death, and it was one of those situations where oh, I hadn't really spoken to her in a little while, and all the guilt of not keeping in touch with your pals, and sort of thinking about her as a person. She's real vivacious and like just really grabbed things and went for what she wanted. And her bravery was always something that I was really impressed by and really inspired by. And in not having anybody around me who knew her at that point in time, the only way that I could really get out my feelings about her death was to write it down. And so I just wrote, really did free writing for a bit. And it was in that I started to find a voice of this character that wasn't me. And that was really useful because it created a vehicle that I could explore different things through, but also kind of unburden myself of some of these unhelpful feelings. And it was Carrie, her name was Carrie, my friend who died. And it was Carrie's bravery that I was like, do you know what? She'd do this. She'd finish this project. She'd write this play. So I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. And it was like my promise to her that was like, I'll finish this. And it's the first time I have. So well done, Carrie, for getting me through that. So yeah, I think and we owe our friends a lot. So, you know, I think it's nice to pay some of that forward. And like, yeah, it felt good to thank her in that way.
That's really amazing. Yeah. Thank you for sharing, and thank you for taking this decision and go with it, because it takes a lot of courage. So congratulations. Big things. Congratulations. Really proud of you. That's amazing.
How did you find the different processes? So like I'm being a writer, so how did you find, because obviously you're a director, you're doing directing plays in London now, and obviously this piece of writing is very important. How did you feel the process was different and or maybe the same?
To write versus direct?
Yeah.
I mean, very different. I wrote a lot as a teenager. That was how I managed my head, basically. I think a lot of people do. And then I didn't for a long time. So I think that was where my go-to with Carrie came back. But I never thought about, which is silly, but I never thought about writing a play and dramaturging a play as the same, as having the same goal, which of course they do, but as a writer, it's really hard to have that hat on at that time. So, and the way that I dramaturg for other people is asking questions. And so when you ask the questions of yourself, you already know the answers. And so there's like a loop that you can't quite get out of. So I found the writing really hard because I knew all the answers, and I got really defensive when people asked me like, oh, this bit doesn't quite make sense, or why is this bit here? And I was like, well, it's obvious, isn't it? And got really kind of huffy about it. Obviously, it's just my own insecurities and like managing that, but that's how we learn, right? And so, yeah, the way I did it, having the deadline, I had a really clear deadline and working towards that. And writing in, I did a draft and it was rubbish, which is fine. But then I stuck it in a drawer and forgot about it for a little while, and then came back with director head and was like, okay, what are the images in this that I would use to direct? And thought, couldn't find any. So then started thinking about those moments, those individual, like dramatic I think talking earlier about those little things that have the ripples as you go through the piece. And when I found those in what I'd written, then I started pulling them out and writing them as scenes, and that I find much more helpful. So, there's no way I could have done that in the same headspace as I was when I was initially writing. I had to have some space away and look at it from an entirely different angle. Um, yeah, I much prefer helping others write than, than writing myself.
I think it's fantastic. All the process of being a writer is incredible. Pulling all that things out, I think it's a journey.
Yeah,
So
I'm amazed by writers, and also having that, like, because writers have that being able to tell the story with the structure in their heads, and then also have the real nuance of character all through that, is to hold all those characters nuances in your head as you're writing this big structure. I'm in awe of writers. I think it's very impressive.
Your most recent was Slippery When Wet, and I know that you took it to London and you also took it to Ireland, and it seemed to go really well. Did you like connecting with the contemporariness of it? It was a one-woman play, was that right?
Yeah. So Slippery When Wet was is a really lovely project to be part of. The writer performer one woman show gave me the script and asked me if I'd be interested in doing it at Dublin Fringe Festival, and I was like, yes, absolutely, let's do it. And we managed beforehand to do a couple of weeks run in London as well, and that was great. And it was so fresh and so um honest in its writing that yeah, it was really nice to have a play with something that was quite young. The character's voice was quite young, and the piece felt really of now, and it just worked really well in Dublin. I think the Dublin audience particularly connected to the sense of humor. It was quite sweary and a little bit dirty, and it was a kind of a coming of age story about a young woman who falls in love, kind of, but not really. And it was really fun to play with the theatricality of the props in that piece. We had like a mop that was a mop and a mop bucket and some rubber gloves, and we built the other characters out of these objects, and it was really fun to explore that with Leanne. Leanne Devlin was the writer and performer. Yeah, and it was really we worked in such a short period of time to get this piece up. I would love to have spent more time unpicking it, and like, but you got to go when we strike while the iron's hot. And yeah, it was really fun to work at a fast pace and make decisions quickly and have to trust your gut and not second guess yourself, and play in this space rather than overthink and talk too much about decisions before you make them. So yeah, I really enjoyed that piece.
that's fantastic to hear. Trust your gut. That's it's never wrong. That's amazing. Okay, is there anything else that you want to ask Ross? I think she has been sharing lovely stories actually from herself. I've loved it. Do you want to say one more time the information of the play that you are running right now, please?
Yeah, thank you. So it's called Deaf as a Post by Sean Blaney, and it's on at the Barons Court Theatre in West London from the 9th to the 20th of April. 7:30, shows at 7:30, and you can get your tickets at the Barons Court Theatre website. And you can follow us on our very new Instagram page at Dandelion Productions _. So yeah, we'll be putting bits and pieces up on that.
That's fantastic. And can any of our listeners follow you? Are you on social media?
Yes, you can follow me at Scotia Echo, which is at SCOTIAECO. On Instagram is where you will find me.
Cool. And obviously, as we said, we've been quoting from your website, so you also have your lovely website up as well. Well, thank you so much for spending time with us and with our and sharing with our listeners. And yeah, thanks for being a part of the Poets Corner podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been so lovely to chat, and like it's so nice just to think about these things as well, you know, like so infrequently we talk about them. So yeah, thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you so much. It has been really lovely to share this time. Thank you, and yeah, hopefully I can go to London and see the play.
You're welcome.
That would be amazing. Okay, thank you so much for sharing your time with us. And that was another chapter. Stay tuned, because we are starting to share these beautiful sessions with beautiful people. So yeah, stay tuned. Thank you for being there, and see you